Chicago Bears fans, get ready, because this week we're diving into everything you need to know ahead of what promises to be one of the most exciting matchups of the season. The tension is building, and right now the Bears are just slightly favored. But make no mistake, this game could swing in either direction. The over-under is hovering around 46.5 points, which suggests we're in for a game full of explosive plays, strategic battles, and critical moments that could decide the course of the season. Injuries have been a major talking point this week, and while we won't have the official reports until later in the week, there are plenty of names to watch closely. The Bears lineup has been shuffled with key players like Roma possibly returning, DJ Moore battling nagging injuries from previous games, and Aussie Trapillo managing a knee and quad issue that had him limited in last week's sessions. Theo hasn't held up as expected in pass protection recently, so the team will be looking for stability from the offensive line. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is another player drawing attention after reportedly suffering a significant concussion, and given the short turnaround this week with a Saturday night game, his availability is highly uncertain. If he cannot play, the Bears may turn to Nick Mloud or Josh Blackwell to fill key spots in the nickel or secondary packages, with Tyreek Stevenson also in consideration depending on how the week develops. Turning to the Packers, injuries there are also shaping the narrative. Josh Jacobs has been carrying some minor issues, but is expected to play, while Dantavian Wickses and Savon Williams have been sidelined recently. Bo Melton and Javon Bullard both left games banged up, and the Packers are keeping a close eye on Zach Tom, whose participation could impact their offensive line performance. Bullard's knee injury, in particular, is a key storyline, as he has been a consistent presence at nickel for Green Bay throughout the season. Both teams enter this matchup with questions around key personnel, making preparation and depth incredibly important. When we break down coaching matchups, it's hard to pick a clear advantage. Ben Johnson is in his first year leading the Bears, and while he's shown promise, Matt LaFleur's experience gives the Packers a slight edge on paper. That said, both coaches are known for their play-calling ability and strategic approach, making this one of those matchups that could easily be decided by execution rather than pure design. The quarterback matchup is equally compelling. Jordan Love has the accuracy edge and has put up big numbers over the last few years, while Caleb Williams brings consistency, durability, and explosive play potential. Both players are capable of top-5 performances on their best days, and this game could define the pecking order in the division for the coming year. This is the kind of stage that tests both leadership and skill, and the winner will certainly have bragging rights, as well as momentum heading into 2026. The Bears' offense has shown flashes, but consistency remains the issue, especially in the first half of games. The running game has struggled to sustain drives, leaving the defense on the field far too long and contributing to fatigue that shows up in the later stages of contests. Over the last few games, the Bears have scored almost nothing in the first quarters, despite moving the ball efficiently at times. This is a key area to improve because establishing a rhythm early will allow them to keep the Packers off balance and protect an already challenged defense. Long drives that chew clock and mix run and pass plays will be crucial. Caleb has done a fantastic job stepping up when the offense has had to rely heavily on the passing game, but balance is still the bread and butter of this unit. Running effectively for 4 to 5 yards per carry not only sets up play action, but also opens up chunk plays downfield. Against a team like Green Bay, finding ways to keep the chains moving and control the clock could make all the difference. Defensively, the Bears have been struggling to stop opponents in critical situations, particularly over the middle of the field. With slower corners and linebackers, man coverage has been challenging, and teams have exploited this with rub routes, drags, and crossing patterns that have consistently created openings. To compete with a Packers offense that thrives on timing and precision, Chicago may need to adjust more toward zone schemes and situational pressures to disrupt rhythm without overcommitting. Turnovers will be essential. In the last few games, the Bears have often managed only a single takeaway per game, which hasn't been enough to swing outcomes. For this matchup, forcing at least 2 takeaways will likely be a prerequisite for any hope of victory, especially when the offense is still finding its footing early. Situational defense, particularly on third down, will need to improve if the Bears want to limit scoring opportunities and keep drives manageable. Special teams have been a rare bright spot, with strong kicking, return, and coverage units providing consistent value. Field position has been an overlooked aspect of the season, and maintaining that edge could tip the balance in a close contest. Overall, the Bears' strengths will need to be maximized and their weaknesses carefully managed. Success will come down to execution on both sides of the ball, particularly with the high-stakes atmosphere of a rivalry game. Psychological momentum also plays a role here. Chicago has a real chance not just to win a game, but to make a statement against Green Bay, a team that has dominated the rivalry for years. Establishing dominance in this matchup could redefine the tone for future encounters, giving the Bears a tangible edge and confidence and positioning them to set the pace in 2026. This game is about opportunity, resilience, and taking control when the margin for error is minimal. For the Bears, getting back to efficient rushing, starting faster offensively, protecting the quarterback, and generating turnovers on defense will be critical. Time of possession has been a glaring concern over the past few weeks, and correcting that will relieve pressure on an exhausted defensive unit. Sustaining drives, executing early scoring opportunities, and leveraging the special teams advantage will be key components of a strategy aimed at balancing the field and controlling momentum. If the Bears can manage these elements effectively, they stand a strong chance of taking control of the game and building momentum not only for this matchup, but for the remainder of the season. Every yard gained, every stop forced, and every drive extended will matter, as this is the kind of game that can define a season and shift a rivalry. As we shift our focus into the finer details of this matchup, it's clear that situational football will be the deciding factor for both squads. The Bears need to execute with precision in short yardage and third down situations, because the Packers will be relentless in testing their resolve. Time and again, we've seen Green Bay capitalize on minor mistakes, turning missed assignments and slow reads into big plays that swing momentum. Chicago cannot afford to be reactive this week. They must be proactive, anticipating the motions, the shifts, and the audibles that Matt LaFleur will undoubtedly employ to create mismatches. This is a team that thrives on exploiting even the smallest window, so discipline and awareness on every snap will be critical. The linebackers, in particular, will have to rise to the occasion. T.J. Edwards and T.J. Edmonds have the talent, but right now they're dealing with both physical wear and subtle lapses in execution. They need to be faster to the football, smarter in their reads, and more aggressive in closing lanes while keeping coverage responsibilities intact. If the Bears can stabilize the linebacker group, it will give their secondary a chance to recover and play more confidently, which could ultimately make the difference in a game that will likely be decided by just a few key plays. The secondary itself has been under scrutiny, and for good reason. Jalen Johnson has struggled to maintain speed and fluidity in coverage, making him vulnerable against quick, precise route combinations. Kevin Byard is one of the few defensive backs who has been consistently reliable, but even his performances cannot mask the overall inconsistencies of the unit. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's injury exacerbates the issue, removing depth at a critical position and forcing adjustments that could impact both man and zone coverage schemes. The Packers, with their combination of precision receivers and shifty route runners, will test these weaknesses relentlessly. Expect a mix of crossing patterns, slants, and intermediate routes targeting the middle of the field, designed specifically to exploit the Bears' slower defenders. Discipline in the secondary, communication between safeties and corners, and timely help from the linebackers will be non-negotiable if Chicago hopes to limit big plays and prevent early deficits that could snowball. Offensively, the emphasis must remain on balance. The passing game has been exceptional, particularly with Caleb Williams' ability to extend plays and deliver accurate throws under pressure. But over-reliance on the pass has allowed defenses to predict tendencies and adjust effectively. The running game, led by the consistent efforts of David Swift and supported by Cole Cat, needs to reassert itself. By maintaining a steady ground attack, the Bears not only control the clock, but also open up opportunities for play-action passes that can produce explosive results. Success on the ground also has a psychological effect, wearing down the Packers' front seven and limiting the pressure that could disrupt Caleb's rhythm. Establishing the run early in the game will allow the Bears to sustain drives, protect their defense, and gradually dictate the pace of play. Long, methodical drives will not only eat clock, but also force the Packers to respond under duress, increasing the likelihood of mistakes that the Bears can capitalize on. Special teams remain a critical component in this matchup. The Bears have excelled in this phase all season, with reliable kicking, coverage units that consistently execute, and a return game that has steadily improved. While it may not always grab the headlines, effective special teams play can create field position advantages that change the complexion of drives. Richard Hightower has been a revelation in this department, transforming a former weakness into a consistent strength. Properly leveraging special teams will allow the Bears to start drives in advantageous positions, mitigate the risk of momentum-shifting plays, and place additional pressure on the Packers' offense to perform in tighter conditions. Every yard gained in field position, every solid punt, and every effective coverage play will contribute to the broader game plan and could ultimately be the difference between a narrow victory and a devastating loss. Psychology and momentum are also major factors in this rivalry matchup. The Bears have made strides in recent seasons, splitting previous contests with Green Bay 2-2, which is a significant improvement compared to the previous years of Packers dominance. Winning this matchup is about more than just the scoreboard. It's about asserting identity, establishing confidence, and redefining the narrative around this rivalry. The players must believe in their ability to compete with and beat a team that has long been considered the benchmark in the division. From the locker room to the sidelines, the mindset must be one of aggression, preparation, and confidence. Every throw, every run, every tackle carries psychological weight, and the Bears have an opportunity to send a strong message that this rivalry is back in their control. Strategically, this game will be decided in the trenches and in how well each team executes situational football. The offensive line must protect the quarterback, open lanes for the running backs, and maintain discipline in both pass and run blocking schemes. This is particularly important for Chicago, as the performance of the line will dictate how effectively the team can control the pace of the game. If the offensive line falters, the Bears' passing game could become pressured, and their running game could be stifled, putting the defense back on the field for extended stretches. Conversely, a strong line performance sets up the entire offense for success and allows the team to dictate tempo, manage the clock, and control the physicality of the game. Looking at the Packers, their defensive front has been inconsistent without key players like Micah Parsons, but they still have the ability to disrupt timing, force hurried throws, and generate pressure that could challenge the Bears' offensive rhythm. Chicago must anticipate blitzes, maintain proper spacing, and execute quick reads to counter the pass rush. Additionally, limiting negative plays and avoiding turnovers in critical situations will be essential, as Green Bay excels at converting opponent mistakes into momentum and points. Mistakes in this game are magnified, and every decision, whether a throw, a handoff, or a block, carries heightened importance. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The league's rumor mill is buzzing with a new storyline that has quietly gained traction in recent hours. KENDRICK BOURNE and the Chicago Bears may be inching toward a union that feels almost too logical to ignore. Sources close to the situation suggest that BOURNE has given a positive signal to the idea of wearing navy and orange. Yes, that is being interpreted less as a signature and more as an open door. In a business driven as much by timing as talent, that door matters. BOURNE's name has hovered on the edges of several conversations this offseason, but the Bears' angle carries a particular intrigue. Chicago has been vocal, at least internally, about wanting receivers who blend experience with edge, players comfortable working the middle of the field while still stretching defenses horizontally. BOURNE, known for his energy, toughness, and locker-room presence, fits that profile in a way that feels intentional rather than opportunistic. What makes this speculation compelling is the sense of mutual need. For Bourne, the Bears represent a chance to redefine his role, to move into an offense searching for identity and reliable targets. For Chicago, the pursuit hints at a front office unwilling to wait passively for development, instead exploring veterans who can stabilize a young core and bring professionalism to critical moments. Nothing is final, and insiders are careful to stress that talks, if they exist, remain fluid. Still, Bourne's reported openness has shifted the tone from distant interest to something more tangible. Around the league, executives are watching closely, aware that moves like this often surface first as whispers before becoming reality. Whether the Bears ultimately close the gap or not, the idea of Kendrick Bourne saying yes has already added a new layer of intrigue to Chicago's plans. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.